Did you find it easy to do this? Was it a simple role to slip into?
You know, I don't know if I found it easy. I mean, it was definitely challenging, and at the same time, I think because we talked about it so much. We talked about what the tone would be. We talked about you know, every discussion from what is this guy a hard alcohol drinker? Is he a beer drinker? Is every sort of detail that we really discussed and had a game plan going in to where I felt as secure as I could feel going into doing something like this. And you know, I've always felt like that. You know, I've never, even in the comedies that I've done, I've always tried to approach it
Seriously?
yeah, as a real performance. You know, regardless of how outlandish a character might be, you still play it very real.
The person believes what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's that isn't any different than how I approach this movie.
Well, both of you must have thought about, you know, since a lot of this movie is about declutterizing your life. What effect did that have on you in terms of each of you thinking about, you know, if you had this giant yard sale, which items of yours would you want to keep? Which would you consider sort of embarrassing in your own life? But if you had a giant yard sale, what would be some of those things that you want to keep and things that you want to get rid of that are so embarrassing?
I would definitely keep my helicopter. Most of my helicopters.
I was gonna say the twin
Yeah,
rotors.
the twin rotors is getting a little.
Do you have a helicopter?
I've got 6 helicopters.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never had a yard sale ever in my life. I don't know if I ever thought about stuff I would get rid of.
Have you ever bought on a yard sale?
No.
So that part wasn't very personal.
They look kind of creepy to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just so amazing how much stuff we keep that we'll never touch again. And we
Yeah.
find it, there's this group, these boxes of crap that, whether it's mementos or shirts or jackets that we have that we're like, I'm going to wear that in a year. And you just keep it and
Yeah, you
you
do.
live with this stuff. And when we were scouting, like you go into these houses and you're like, people are living the way we all live. Like, do you know how you're living? Like, do you know the stuff that you have? And
We're
like,
afraid to get rid of it.
we're basically leaving it for our children
For the
to
fear
give.
of that one time.
Yeah.
that-
I need that yearbook.
Oh, where's my English to Italian translation book?
Yeah.
I used to have one.
I think we're leaving stuff for our children to throw away when we die.
Right.
It's like we're punishing them for that.
And you've never done a complete purging?
Of just getting rid of tons of
Everything,
stuff. Yeah, I know I've done one complete purging when I gave up my apartment, my New York apartment, when I left Saturday Night Live, and I started to ship the stuff that I had back to Los Angeles, and then I just called the moving company. I was like, do you want the futon, the IKEA dresser? Is there anything you can do with it? And we're like, well, if you give us $50 more, we can just do something. I'm like, great, thank you.
What would you say to your fans, to the people that go see every Will Ferrell comedy ever made 2 or 3 times before they come see this movie? Prepare them.
Yeah, see it 5 times if you can. No, I mean, you know, I think it's an opportunity to obviously see me, you know, see me in a different type of film, and it's a pretty unique performance. I don't know if I've been able to kind of express myself in a way that I get to in this movie. So you know, I think it's just if you like me, if I'm one of your favorite actors, it's a fun way. It's just a fun, different thing to get to see me do. Yeah.
What are you looking for in a director, especially a first time one?
Well, that's when you hear that you're going to be working with a first-time director. Sometimes that can be a concern to people, and that was one of the reasons why Dan and I met a bunch and wanted to see what his thoughts were on the script and how he, what his kind of plan of attack was. And in talking to Dan, he didn't talk like a first-time director. He was someone who really knew what he wanted to do and had specific ideas, and at the same time was willing to be flexible and work with all of his department heads and actors and that sort of thing. And so I think those are kind of you kind of have to be, on one hand, this dictator, and on the other hand, you have to be able to, when you realize something's not working, you have to be able to scrap it. And that kind of versatility was something that I was really impressed with.
When Carver, getting back to the original source of material, I remember when he was writing before he died. Obviously, he was a huge. I mean, he has a legion of of writers that have been influenced by him, and I wondered if there was, and of course the readership, and I was wondering if you felt any pressure to, I don't know, just sort of represent that material in a particular way for those readers or for his memory of Carver, because he's an enormously popular guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was a fan, so from that standpoint, I didn't want to do service to his work. But I also thought that there were a lot of things that I liked about his work. The spareness, the flawed characters, the way people talk or don't talk, that I wanted to bring into the movie. So there is that pressure because you're dealing with a literate group. It was funny, one actor came in who we were reading for the Frank part, and he said, "Oh God, I was hearing somebody else is going to adapt a Carver story." And the nicest thing he said is, he said, "I really feel like Raymond Carver would be happy with your script," and that felt really good, because I would hope that he would like it. I don't think it's that much of a departure, and I do think that there's strange humor in Carver work. So yeah, there's definitely there was some pressure.
Well, you're known for your improvising, but because this is coming from a short story and a well-defined script, I would assume, did you have some freedom there to do your shtick?
Dan was a taskmaster. He would not allow me to stray.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Oh, perfect.
And is
We improvised a little bit. I mean, you have to keep in mind it was a 23-day shooting schedule, and often we were, since it's so much of the movie is a daytime exterior. In fact, right about this time it was panic, and we're keeping track of our film stock, and so there's so many times where we were doing 3 or 4 takes is all you got, and so that didn't really lend itself to, hey, let me go off on one here. But I just felt like the material was so strong that it didn't really call for it in a way.
Did you give Christopher any advice, and like CJ, did you give him any advice, and if so, what kind of things you guys talk about?
Gosh, I don't know if we had to. He's so gifted and natural in his delivery, and we talked about how we really needed, because of the same constraints I was talking about, that we really needed a young actor who could hit the ground running, and there wasn't going to be a lot of time for hand holding or extra rehearsal, and he was on top of it from the first moment. I mean, I remember the first take he did of some scene on the front lawn, and he gave his first take of the first scene he did on his first day of work was so good that Dan came over to give a note to him, and then we both looked at each other and were like,
This kid's good.
He's good.
And he seems like a natural, like his father.
He is good.
Yeah, he's really good.
And he's sweet and thoughtful and well prepared. He knew the script. I'd be like, what's my line again? CJ would be like, you say. He'd give me my line to me. So he was great.
You on Broadway, you were a natural, and I'm just wondering now with Chris Rock and Robin Williams doing
plays, not shows that they wrote themselves. Do you see yourself doing that ever?
I would love to, yeah, if the opportunity presented itself in a way that I felt like I could, was a nice fit for me. It
Do
would be.
people submit scripts?
No.
They won't.
But with The Office and this movie, are you consciously trying to shake things up at this point in your career?
I don't know if it's at this point. It was just kind of a perfect storm of these great opportunities, and yeah, I thought it'd be fun to kind of do some different things, and I was inspired by James Franco being on a soap opera, and, but literally, that's one of those things where you read it and you're like, oh, that's so funny, that's such a cool move, and so it's in the vein of that. I think it's fun to always keep people guessing. So
What's
So
surprised
we-
you the most about being on The Office?
is the last
Can
question.
you clear up any rumors that have been going around that you might be coming back as a guest star?
I'm not coming back for next season, but the season after that, 2013, I'm coming.
How's your Spanish, by the way? Because I hear you're taking Spanish for your next year.
Muy bien.
What